Hello Choppers, welcome to Logan Chop's Quickie preview of Crimson Woods, a tile-based slasher game for 2 to 6 players ages 14 and up and plays in about 45 minutes to 2 hours. In the game, you play a camp counselor that is trying to survive the night from a deadly killer in the campgrounds. The game starts out with everybody assuming one of the roles of the counselors and taking their sheet as well as a health token and a mini to represent that character in the game. You'll place the 4 starting tiles in the middle of the play area, and then you will place 32 mini search cards in a 6x6 grid around these 4 starting tiles, and then on top of that you will put 32 of the regular tiles face down on top of them. Now, because this is a prototype and printing errors do happen sometimes, the mini search cards were actually printed double-sided, so we've already placed them down here beforehand and then put the tiles on top of them. But usually during the game they are placed face down so you can't see which they are, and then the tiles are face down on top of them, so that whenever you end up on a tile and flip it up, you will not know what search card is underneath, so it's randomized when you place them on the board. Once all the tiles are placed on the board, a certain amount of killer attack cards are shuffled into the resource deck over here, depending on if you want a easy, moderate, or hard game. Here we have it set up for a 2-player game, so we want it on easy, so we put 7 killer attack cards in the resource deck and shuffled them up. Once players are ready, they will place their tokens on one of the 4 starting areas to begin the game. The goal of the game is to either reach the car or the boat tile, have the key for that tile, which are on the special mini attack card, so you have to find it, and also have gasoline, and then make a successful roll to be able to escape. Now there's also a watchtower in here, and you'll have to find the watchtower key, and then use the batteries to power the watchtower. All these cards can be found in the resource deck. The resource deck also includes stuff to attack the killer back, like an axe, which will add +3 to your attack, as well as a flashlight, which will reveal tiles in a direction. There's also energy bars that'll increase your movement, because your movement is usually only 2, as shown on your counselor's card. Of course, you always have to be aware of the killer attack cards that we shuffled into the deck, because these will immediately move the killer to your tile, and you'll have to perform combat. At the beginning of a player's turn, they will have to roll the killer location die, which will signify the column, which is the white die, and the row, which is the black die, of where the killer will show up for that turn. We can see here that the killer has shown up in column 6, row 5, right there on the grid. Now, if this had been coordinates that were a face-up tile during the game, the killer would show up there. If there was a counselor on that face-up tile, then the killer would have a combat with that counselor. Now, if there was no counselor on that tile, then the killer will move orthogonally towards the closest counselor and perform an attack. Here, the killer is just in the middle of the woods, stalking the counselors. Once the dice have been rolled and the killer is placed on a tile, you will be able to move or play any cards that you would like at this time. I'm going to move my character 2 spaces to the left. 1, 2. Whenever you land on a tile that has not been revealed, you flip it over, and if it's the first time you're revealing that tile, you'll take the search card underneath, like so. Oh, it looks like I have a stalker card. When you reveal a tile, you'll check the coordinates at the bottom. If they match the roll for the round, the killer will immediately move to that tile. Here we see this is 6-2, so we're safe for right now. Then you will resolve the tile. Here I'll roll 1 die. On a 1 to 3, I cross safely. On a 4 to 6, I drop an item and trip and fall. So you will resolve the tile for your turn, and then you will go to the draw a card, where you'll get to draw a resource card. Now there are certain mini search cards like we talked about that you can find underneath the tiles, such as like first aid kits, the keys to the car, and so forth to help you get out. But then there are also stalker cards. If you get these cards, you keep them on you, and if you accumulate 3 of these cards, the killer will automatically move to your space and make an attack on you. Combat is handled pretty simply. If the killer is on your tile, another player will roll the 3 red die for the killer, while you'll roll the 2 blue die for the counselor and add any weapons that you would like for this combat. Let's see, I'm going to use my +3 axe here. And then you'll total up and compare scores. We can see that I've got 4 on the dice, plus my axe gives me 7, and the killer only has 4 plus 2 for 6, so I win. If you win, you will remove the killer from the board and be able to draw a card from the resource deck. If you lose, then you will lose 1 life on your counselor and have to flee 2 spots away and then end your turn immediately. If you end your turn without combat or with a successful combat, at the end of the turn you'll get to draw one of the resource cards, and then you'll have to roll the killer movement die to see which way the killer's going to go at the end of your turn. We can see here he is going to move 3 spaces towards the closest counselor, which just happens to be me, and he will perform an attack if he ends up in a tile with a counselor. At the end of your turn, play continues clockwise with the next player, and the game continues in this fashion until counselors either escape or they end up dying. When the deck runs out, that means that the killer has won. Crimson Woods is coming to Kickstarter on October 27th, 2020, so keep a lookout for it. I'm Logan for Logan Chop's Quickie Previews. We'll see you next time. Happy gaming.